Well, as I mentioned, it could be Labour MP Angela Eagle who comes forward to challenge Jeremy Corbyn in the leadership contest. Some reports suggest she'll put herself forward as early as today. 2 days ago, she resigned from Jeremy Corbyn's shadow cabinet, and after she quit, she gave an emotional interview to the BBC's John Pienaar.
You found this personally very difficult?
Yeah. But I feel that I've served in the best way I can, and today I had to go.
Angela, thank you very much.
Well, let's talk to 4 Labour Party members. Here in the studio, we've got Alastair Curtis, who joined Labour last year, specifically to vote for Jeremy Corbyn as leader, and you still support him.
Oh, entirely categorical.
Huda Elmi joined Labour because Mr Corbyn was elected as Labour leader, and you too still support him.
Wholeheartedly.
Josh Tuck voted for Mr Corbyn too last year, but doesn't support him anymore, while Michael Emanuel joined Labour on Monday of this week, specifically to vote against Mr Corbyn in any fresh leadership election. Welcome, all of you. Michael, you've joined up specifically to vote against him if there is a leadership contest. Why?
Well, for me, I'm quite disappointed with Jeremy Corbyn. I wholeheartedly believed in his idea of new politics, and for me that seemed to last for about 5 Prime Minister's questions, and then it evaporated. I'm disappointed with how he's acted in the referendum campaign, and for me, I remember seeing Tony Blair, John Major and Gordon Brown in the campaign more than I do Jeremy Corbyn. He's absolutely lost my support, and I don't think he is the right man to take Labour forward into a general election.
Alastair, you think he is the right man to take Labour forward into a general election. How can he win?
For sure. I think Jeremy Corbyn can win with a strong ideology, a strong ideological commitment throughout the Labour Party.
To what?
To anti-austerity, I suppose. I mean, anti-austerity is the overarching idea that can unite the party behind. The years of New Labour represented a time where we pandered to the right, I suppose. We moved towards the right, and we lost a lot of voters. We saw on the intro just before how many voters we lost and how many voters were disillusioned by the years of Blair. I think Jeremy Corbyn can win an election in the next few months, in the next year, by providing a strong ideological commitment. But UKIP, the support of UKIP, the support of the SNP were parties that have succeeded because they have an ideology, an overarching ideology that can be
You mentioned UKIP. Isn't Jeremy Corbyn out of touch? This is what some of his detractors say on the issue of immigration. He does not acknowledge that there is legitimate anxiety amongst some voters about the free movement of people.
Of course, I feel that the immigration issue in particular, I feel that Jeremy's great success, I think, is not out of touch at all. I think it is that he is creating a narrative rather than submitting to one. He is creating a narrative that
he's actually not listening to Labour voters then?
Not at all.
Some of whom are anxious about the free movement of people.
And I mean,
he's ignoring them?
Not at all. I think 30% of Labour voters voted to leave the EU. Those 30% of voters probably did have concerns about immigration. 60%, 63% of Labour voters did not have concerns about immigration. I think Jeremy Corbyn needs
But Labour can't win a general election without those voters, without Scotland, without the north of England.
It's up to Jeremy to create the argument. It's up to Jeremy to win the argument, and I'm sure he can.
All right. Josh, hello to you.
Hello.
You voted for Mr Corbyn last year in the leadership election.
Yeah.
Do you support him now?
No, I absolutely do not. I have completely had a change of heart, and I'm actually very saddened and disappointed that he's, I feel, let us down.
How's he let you down?
I think he promised a lot of things in terms of change, and he has definitely delivered a direction of change and a distance from the past, which is positive. And he did encourage me to get involved. However, I think to lose the backing of almost all of your parliamentary parties says quite something about you. I've watched him speak and I've been less than impressed in the last few times. And to see people like Angela Eagle, who've worked really, really hard for our party, in tears because he's been such a letdown, quite frankly, is hurtful.
Right. But do you agree with Alastair in that he does have a strong anti-austerity message, and that is popular with quite a number of voters?
It definitely is popular. However, as he pointed out with issues like immigration, the 2 issues we were not trusted on last election were the economy and immigration. Now, he might win the argument on the economy, and I'm with him there. However, on immigration, I feel like he's just not listening. And I'm a Labour supporter. I've got an immigrant husband, and I voted Remain, but I acknowledge that there is a massive problem with immigration, and so I don't agree with Alastair on that point.
Huda, does Jeremy Corbyn still speak for you?
Of course. I'm on the committee of Labour students, and I represent a lot of the BAME members nationally, and a lot of their concerns, because it's such a precarious time, it's such a terrifying time, especially for ethnic minorities. And I think when we talk about pro-immigration stances, he's been pro-immigration and an ardent anti-racism supporter from the very onset.
And you can be all those things, don't you think, and also acknowledge that some people are anxious about free movement of people?
Of course, I think that you can.
And is he?
Yeah, I think that he is. I think he's been incredibly critical of the EU, and he clearly reflected a lot of the British public that were Eurosceptic. Very obviously so, because a lot of them voted to leave. And I think that he was more in tune with the British public than a lot of the Tories and also UKIP.
Can I ask you all about class, if you don't mind? How would you describe yourself if I forced you to describe yourself as a member of a particular class, Huda? What would you say?
I would describe myself as working class. I come from a very working class background in Coventry, and I would say that Jeremy Corbyn enthused me. He enthused me because he offered an ideological alternative. You know, I come from a Labour heartland. You know, everybody traditionally voted Labour, but that kind of became lost in a message in a political establishment.
And Coventry, of course, voted to leave.
Voted to leave, and I'm not surprised. I was there voting and also campaigning, but for the EU referendum, and I found that a lot of people felt as though the establishment had left them.
Okay, Alastair, in terms of class, do you mind me asking, how would you describe yourself?
Middle class. I come from Northampton being a Tory heartland, really. But I think certainly canvassing a lot of support there and going around sort of the towns and the villages in Northampton, around Northamptonshire, there has been a lot of respect amongst Conservative and UKIP voters towards Jeremy for having such dignity and honesty and such a clear message.
We were watching the film for people, Labour voters and ex-Labour voters from Stoke-on-Trent, and the thing that struck me was the number of times somebody said, we need a strong leader. Implying that Jeremy Corbyn is not strong enough. I can see, Josh, that you're nodding in the background.
Yeah, definitely. I would also say I'm working class, and for people who are working class and are being absolutely failed by this government with the massive slashes to public services, it is absolutely imperative that we get another Labour government. And Jeremy says that he wants a progressive case for a government and that he would do anything basically to take the Tories out. Well, actually, in refusing to resign and blocking a progressive manifesto coming from somebody else, he's actually not doing that. And for people like me who can't enjoy their life under a Tory government, and that's not being dramatic, he's just been a letdown.
OK. Michael, you're the one who joined Labour on Monday of this week specifically to vote against Jeremy Corbyn in any forthcoming leadership contest. Does it matter to you who comes forward to challenge him? Or is it more important that it's just one person that people, Labour MPs, the majority of whom voted against Mr Corbyn in that no confidence motion yesterday, one person that people can unite behind?
I think it's important to have somebody that commands the respect of and confidence of the 80% of Labour MPs who voted against Jeremy Corbyn in the motion yesterday.
Who would that person be in your view?
In my view, either Angela Regal or Tom Watson.
OK. Huda, is Jeremy Corbyn not being incredibly arrogant by sticking to his position that he will not go when 80% of his colleagues don't want him to be leader anymore?
No, I think the arrogant people are the MPs who are going against the will of their constituencies. We have Angela Eagle, for instance. Her own constituency actually released a statement in full support of Jeremy Corbyn. What we have is this disconnect between MPs and Labour Party membership.
But you've heard some Labour Party members here. They don't want Jeremy Corbyn to be leader of Labour anymore.
Well, we have over 200,000 who signed a petition of confidence in Jeremy Corbyn, and that cannot be ignored. He has the support of Labour membership, and that's the most important thing that MPs don't represent.
All
Exactly.
right. Thank you all very much. I appreciate your input. Really interesting. Thank you so much. And do get in touch with your own views on that particular conversation. As I said, we'll talk about the Conservative race for party leadership after 10.